Happy Mother's Day. I want to reiterate that fact because a British Columbia elementary school has declared that they have canceled Mother's Day. Well, maybe they didn't declare that outrightly, but that's what they've done. They canceled Mother's Day and are now calling it the Grown-ups Who Love Us Day. Not the grown-ups we love. Watch the wording. The Grown-ups Who Love Us Day. I'm sorry. The grown-ups who love you, mom and dad, will not be eradicated. We will not be erased, and we will not be canceled, because the grown-ups who love you, children, could be very bad for you. We'll talk about that later. Well, this Sunday is Mother's Day. So I want to wish every mother listening a happy Mother's Day. And we're not going to call it Happy Person's Day. We're not going to call it Pregnant Person's Day. We're not going to call it anything other than it is Mother's Day. For those mothers out there, thank you. Thank you for being who you are. You're not perfect. Lord knows we all have our stuff going on, but you are moms to the children in your household, or those who have already left home, perhaps your grandma. I want to talk to you today about being mama bears, because as we look at Mother's Day and we honor you, we also, and I particularly want to challenge you once again, I want to bring you some truth that might shock your world, because these precious children that you have brought into the world through the struggle that comes with being pregnant are being attacked by our governments, our education, by political forces and activism. But okay, so let's get started. You probably already know that. I want to talk about self-sex ID, or sex self-ID, however you want to call it. And I want to talk about also what I've been learning in some of the other books that I've been reviewing. This is one of them. It's called Perfectly Normal. And I did a newsletter last week that went into some detail on this whole issue. But this book, called It's Perfectly Normal, is in Canadian elementary schools across our nation. And it should come with an explicit sexual content label. But you know what? It's recommended for 10-year-olds. 10-year-olds. Let me just give you the first few chapters. I'm not going to go through the whole book. It's quite a significant read, actually. No 10-year-old would actually read it, but they sure would look at the pictures. Chapter 1 opens by telling children that girl, boy, male, female are labels. Okay. That means they're labels, they aren't real. And then it's based on what the doctor or mom and dad see at the moment of birth. So seeding thoughts of confusion into our children's minds immediately. It's subtle because we've been on this trajectory for a while, but words are very important in this battle for the minds of our children. Chapter 2 is entitled Making Babies. It's only 1 page in length, but the wording again is very deceptive. Some people have a vagina and ovaries. Some people have a penis. Excuse me? No, women have reproductive parts and men have reproductive parts, and they're different. And they're meant to be different so that there can be babies, and so that there can be sexual pleasure within the barriers of marriage. I mean, this is what it's about. The effect here, though, is to eradicate male and female from the conversation once again, and to open the child's mind to all kinds of other options. Well, we get to chapter 3, and let me tell you, I'm including some pictures here. I told you there was sexual content in this, so be prepared. Remember, though, as an adult, you're looking at this. This is for your 10-year-old, and you can believe the 8-year-olds will be looking at it too. So You want to be as physically close, this book says, as you can be to the person that you feel sexy about. It's the way you feel about your body, it says. For lots of kids, sexual desire can happen when one is happy, nervous, or excited. Okay, for lots of kids, we're talking about children. Children do not have sexual desires. This is creepy. This is grooming. We need to take back the language. We need to defend our children. It says, page 6, it goes on, it's all about feeling sexy. 10-year-olds, come on, people. Wake up to what is happening in our schools, what the children are being taught. No 10-year-old should be experiencing these feelings unless they've been stimulated in some way, either through pornography or sexual grooming or actual sexual abuse. And we used to be able to tell if a child had been sexually abused. And certainly in my practice, that's kind of where we wanted to be able to differentiate, because there were certain things they did, certain things they said, that all of a sudden you would go, whoa, there's a red flag here. We can't even do that anymore because they're being groomed in our school, in our education system. And the words they use, the things they're doing are being taught to them. Anyways, okay, mama bears, hang in there. We get to chapter 4 with explicit information accompanied by more porn on intercourse with opposite or same gender. So they use gender instead of sex. This really puts a bee in my bonnet. I am so fed up with hearing the word gender. And I've said this before, and I don't care where you are or how you've been indoctrinated. What we need to do is go back to using the right words. There is male and female sex. Gender is a social construct. It's simply how you feel about being male or female. So it's either male on male sex, or it's opposite of female to female, or opposite sex. So not same gender. The dialogue then continues about sexual intercourse for 10-year-olds, happening when sexual parts of two people who have female bodies, hence two females, or two people who have male bodies touch. Great. I want my 10-year-old grandchild to be learning this stuff with pictures accompanying, not. The book continues for 108.5 by 11 pages. I mean, it's a big book with diagrams of children masturbating, more sex scenes, and a chapter on birthing filled with diagrams such as this full-on picture of a nude mother about to give birth. I have to take a breath. I'm going to challenge you moms out there, mama bears. When you gave birth, were you stripped naked for all the world to see everything? Of course not. There was dignity in giving birth. There was dignity. Now, I mean, you felt like there was a whole lot being seen that you didn't want to be seen, but it was seen by, the doctor, a couple nurses, whatever, not the whole world. And you were covered neck down and a sheet was pulled up. Big deal. It was not stripped naked about to deliver. This stuff is absolute porn. We need to get angry, mums. So for Mother's Day, I want you to enjoy the day, but I want you to get angry. The idea of decency, innocence, purity, and morality has taken a nosedive, as you know, in our culture. But our schools are rife with pornography and the teaching that's built on lies, and we are allowing it. Now, this being said, I want to say a call to action. I want to bring a call to action to teachers, because I know that they're not all on board with this. I know it, but they're so terrified of being ostracized, lose their job, being investigated if they dare speak out anything that would suggest that this teaching might be on the wrong path. So I know your job is on the line if you disclose the indoctrination that's called education and the radicalization of our most vulnerable, our precious children. But at what point do you say enough is enough? We need to rise up. This is nothing short of child grooming. You know, activists for gender ideology deliberately invent new definitions for existing words. It obscures what they're advocating for, which is the destruction of human biology. So a woman is a human adult female. That's it. A man is a human adult male. A lesbian, those are women that are exclusively attracted to other women, and gay or homosexual men are exclusively attracted to other men. Sex, male, female, is a specific biological person. Our specific biological sex is immutable. It's determined at conception, not assigned at birth. It's observed in utero. When there are ultrasounds done, and you moms know this, often you can identify the sex of the baby. In fact, lots of moms want to know the sex, and it's very, very accurate. So it's observed in utero and at birth, and it's encoded into every cell in the body, and sex cannot change. Don't be deluded. Part of this ideology is designed to confuse words and change your perception of the meanings. Trans woman, okay, first of all, again, humans cannot change their sex, but trans women, whatever, 80% of men who claim this identity, because trans woman is a male who is identifying as a female. 80% of these men take no medication and do not make any surgical changes to their body. Okay, what does that mean? They're intact. They are men. They are intact men. They can have sex with your children. They can rape. And I'm not suggesting that every trans man is a rapist. So get that out of your mind. I'm just saying that things can happen. And if you are deluded enough to suggest or even believe that you as a man can be a woman, then there's already major, major problems. A trans man is a woman that decides she can be a man. So women that demand that we pretend they are men, they do not represent the same danger to men in private spaces as trans men do. And they don't represent a danger to male sports or jobs. So this is no real bearing on any of the issues that are faced by women. And you don't hear a lot about the trans men, not so much. However, because they're female, they will require female medical care throughout their entire life, even if they go through all the puberty blockers, which they often do, and sex change. They still are female and they need female medical care. Obscuring their sex can endanger them medically. Are they being told? Probably not. Gender identity. Okay, it's made up term for individual feelings. So sex self-ID removes any medical gatekeeping for the gender dysphoric once they start having their own self-ID. There's no diagnoses going to be required for dysphoria, and no medical or psychological intervention is going to be required to deal with the underlying mental health issues. Years ago, I said we were creating the greatest mental health crisis we were ever seen. This was before COVID, but now it's just ramped up terribly, and it's in our children. Sexually intact males can legally enter every female-only space and access every female right in law. female roles with zero consideration for bodily integrity of 51% of the population who are female. Moms, we've got to protect our girls and our boys. Men that demand we pretend they're women are entitled to shower with women. They can change with women. In California, senior males can sleep in communal sleeping quarters with girls because boys are demanding we pretend they're girls. And it gives them full access to these young adolescent girls. This knowledge is specifically hidden from parents. Parents are not being told, you need to exert your rights, get to your schools. Oh my goodness, in Canada, if you think it's only the States and other parts of the world, oh no, it's really bad here. Schools are recruiting and teachers are told not to inform the parents if a child has transitioned or is kind of wanting to be a girl and they're dressing differently or socially transitioning, and everybody's going ahead and going, oh yeah, isn't this sweet? No, it's not sweet, because it is corrupt right to the very roots. And so parents aren't notified and their child is told their home isn't a safe place anymore. There is this division, purposely dividing parent and child. And our teachers are doing it. Our guidance counselors are doing it. I'm not saying everyone, I'm talking generally. But remember, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, teachers had to go through sensitization training. Sensitization training. I call it desensitization training. They were desensitized to the things that would disturb them morally regarding the sexualization of our children. And so now teachers are just sitting back and going, well, I guess this is acceptable. No, it's not. You know, a woman's lack of consent to this insanity is irrelevant. In tech, men are now CEOs of rape crisis centers. Take a deep breath. Girls will exclude themselves from female sports, not just because they can't win against boys that say they're girls, but for safety and fear of injuries in contact sports such as rugby. They can't compete against boys. Now I'm saying, you know, we can do lots of things in a competitive way. I loved playing baseball with the boys next door. There were 3 brothers in one family, and we would just hang out together. We would play baseball and run, and guess what? I could hit the ball as well as they could, but there are some things they could do better than I could. What is wrong with that? Nothing. We don't have to be the same. Let's cherish our uniqueness. In the UK, pharmaceutical giants are the ones who are pushing puberty blockers for children, and it's in the US and in Canada too. So don't think this is just, oh, this is for the good of the children. No, this is all about the money that can be made as we feed children medication that destroys their natural process of body integrity. No man has a human right to women and girls sex-specific spaces. And you know, voyeurism is still a crime. It appears, though, that profiteering has become more important than the safety or sanity of our children. And last week, I'm going to conclude this, New York Times columnist David Brooks linked parents and lawmakers concerned about young children being taught things like I'm telling you they're being taught about gender and sexuality in the public schools. He linked these parents to conspiracy theory crazies. Okay, this burns my butt. I'm sorry, I am tired of being nice. I really do love people, but I'm angry. I'm really angry because our kids are more important than some columnists from the New York Times. And they're more important than the teacher teaching them an ideology that is wrong. We need to pay attention. This columnist also warned that these parents are barbarically lunatic and dehumanizing. And they're dehumanizing their political opponents. Excuse me? By speaking truth, we're dehumanizing political opponents? No, no, no. We are just rising up. And it's about time we did. We need to recognize the tipping point is really almost there. And I want you to be part of the tipping point. He called us parents the QAnon fringe. I almost pronounced it wrong. QAnon fringe. We're fringe. Have you heard that before? That happened to the Freedom Convoy. We are just the fringe minority. Parents, we are not a fringe minority. We're not a QAnon fringe. There are tens of millions of us who need to rise up and protect our children. We need to shout out truth. What's happening, he says, is a cultural divide. Absolutely, it's a cultural divide. It is us against them. We can't just sit back and say it isn't. It is us against an ideology that has changed the brains and corrupted lives in our country. And he says we're seeing widened chasms on values and a whole range of issues. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because your religious belief system, and it is a religious cult, it is acting, they're acting like this is a religion that we must adapt ourselves to, because they are saying that what you believed in the past is not important. In fact, it's all wrong. So you must believe this way. That's a religious movement. It is a thought stopping movement. And there is a chasm this wide on values and issues happening. And we need to speak out the values we have as parents for our children. Somehow, he says, we have to be in this fight without being dominated by the crazies. Okay, parents, I'm sorry. Yep, you're being eradicated. As you know, mom, dad is pretty much eradicated, and Disney's been paying the price for that. But the crazies he's talking about are you and I, parents and grandparents who care about their children and what the children are being taught, not only in the school, but in the culture, not only in the US and Canada, but across the Western world. And consider this in Australia. So if I haven't shocked you enough, and I hope you've listened the whole time, primary school children in Victoria were given a worksheet instructing them to ask their fathers about their erections and ejaculations. I want to puke. I am so angry. I'm so angry. And the fact that a teacher, someone that we as parents and grandparents should be able to trust, would do this, and there is no repercussion. Teachers are being maligned if they speak out against this, but there's no repercussions for promoting obscenities and for promoting grooming, promoting this stupidity. So a Liberal MP by the name of Bernie Finn brought this matter to Victoria's Minister of Education after he was contacted by the parent of a 10-year-old girl who was told to discuss with her father his erections and ejaculations as part of her homework. Oh my goodness. A photograph of the worksheet was sent to Mr. Finn, and it also said, instructed the teachers to see how much the adults in your home know about various topics, including penis growing bigger, ejaculation, and wet dreams. I'm sorry to be so specific. This is what they're asking your 10-year-olds. This is in Australia. If you don't think it is here or is coming here soon, you're deluded. Wake up. Wake up. Then Mr. Finn, he just continued, and I'll leave out the other language, but he said, what is going on in this state when a 10-year-old girl, 10-year-old girls are told to go home and ask their father such things? How are we supposed to protect our kids when this sort of perversion is happening in the school? Yes, exactly. He stated it exactly. How are we supposed to protect our children when this kind of perversion is happening in our elementary schools? And it's happening from kindergarten up. Maybe not the exact specifics I've been talking about today, but all of the gender ideology and the lies. It's being what's dished up to them on a daily basis, and it's changing their brains. In a primary school, not even a secondary school, they're asking. They're giving this homework to the children to ask their fathers such invasive sexual questions. It's unbelievable. It's staggering. It's very heartbreaking. You know, there's only two types of people who would happily introduce this material in a classroom. Two types. The incredibly naive or ill-informed teachers. And I can't believe there are so many, and there are. And the other type is the predator. And I believe that many of our teachers are actually predators. There you go, folks. I'm putting it on the line. Many of the teachers who are in our school system have been groomed and have been, now maybe they haven't been groomed. Let me just say this. They have selected the profession so that they can be close to children. They are predators. And they are using gender ideology, sex ed education to groom children for pedophilia. Normalizing this behavior undermines the ability of children to quickly distinguish between someone who has crossed the line, because, you know, it's not about consent, really. It's just do everything that you're told. See, this is what sex is like. So, like, who wouldn't want to do that right away? Instead of being taught the art of refusal, it's dangerous for them. They can't distinguish the good teachers from the bad anymore. They can't distinguish predators from the kind person. Who does all this benefit? Well, I'll tell you, it certainly is not the children. And you mama bears, you who want to protect your children are being vilified. Your sense, your common sense, your ability to protect your own children is being compromised. Please, please, please reach out to me. Please check Restoring the Mosaic website. Email me, contact me. We need to build an army of parents and grandparents. Thanks for watching today.